One thing the Fed tries to do is to make sure that prices are stable. Let's see why. One cause of inflation is too much spending chasing too few goods. In other words, if total demand for goods and services in the economy exceeds the economy's capacity to produce them, prices will increase. Also, inflationary shocks, such as the quadrupling of the price of oil that occurred during the oil embargo of 1973, can cause inflation. But in the long run, sustained inflation can only be caused when monetary policymakers allow the money supply to increase too rapidly, and the Federal Reserve is committed to making sure that doesn't happen. Inflation affects people differently. If you've taken out a loan, say to buy a home, at a fixed interest rate, inflation is good for you because the dollars you pay back on that loan are worth less than when you borrowed them. But high inflation has mostly negative effects. It can lead to a decrease in what people can buy with their savings. People on fixed incomes can suffer because their incomes don't buy as much as they could before. Individuals and businesses will increase the time and money they expend trying to avoid the effects of the increase in prices. Workers may have problems paying their bills if their wages don't rise as fast as prices. And individuals and businesses may face challenges, agreeing on prices or wages when they draw up contracts. If the Fed would allow the money supply to grow too fast, as it did in the 1960s and 1970s, it would cause inflation. And unless it's reversed, inflation would probably last a long time. And if people came to expect high levels of inflation, they would build those expectations into their decision-making. That's why the Federal Reserve works through appropriate monetary policy to maintain low and stable inflation and to discourage the expectation that inflation will rise.
Individual prices go up and down, and that plays an important allocative role in our society. But the general level of prices, whether the general level of prices is roughly stable or is rising at a very rapid rate, that's something that importantly affects the plans of savers as they try to plan for their retirement, affects what it means, how difficult it is, for example, to pay off a debt that a household or a business is undertaken. Having a predictable and low rate of inflation is important to making those financial decisions.
So, you go into the store, you want to know that, milk is going to be so many dollars, and then you go back a year from now and it's not going to be too much different.
Now, the problems arise historically when central banks misbehave somewhat and they don't deliver a nice, low, stable, and predictable rate of inflation. And that's why the Fed and most central banks in the world today are committed to trying to keep inflation low and stable, because it can affect you in that way.